rapper B.O.B. wants to crowdfund his own satellite and launch it into space to find out, once and for all, whether the Earth is flat or round. As a flat Earth conspiracy theorist, the Georgia-based musician is betting on flat, but his $1 million call for cash on GoFundMe has raised only about $2,000 in its first 5 days, the first $1,000 pledged by B.O.B. himself. Fortunately, there are plenty of cheaper ways than a satellite launch to show that the Earth is round. In the spirit of scientific inquiry, here are 7. Photo credit. Jim Schubert / Shutterstock. When a ship sails off toward the horizon, it doesn't just get smaller and smaller until it's not visible anymore. Instead, the hull seems to sink below the horizon first, then the mast. When ships return from sea, the sequence is reversed. First the mast, then the hull, seem to rise over the horizon. The ship and horizon observation is so self-evident that 1881's Zetetic Astronomy, the first modern flat Earth text, devotes a chapter to debunking it. The explanation relies on assuming that the sequential disappearance is simply an illusion brought on by perspective. This debunking does not make much sense, however, as there's nothing about perspective, which just says that things are smaller over longer distances, that should make the bottom of an object disappear before the top. If you'd like to prove to yourself that perspective isn't the reason for boats disappearing hull first and returning mast first, bring a telescope or binoculars on your trip to the harbor. Even with vision enhancement, the ship will still dip below the curve of the Earth. Photo credit. Starry Night software. Greek philosopher Aristotle figured out this one in 350 BC, and nothing's changed. Different constellations are visible from different latitudes. Probably the two most striking examples are the Big Dipper and the Southern Cross. The Big Dipper, a set of 7 stars that looks like a ladle, is always visible at latitudes of 41 degrees north or higher. Below 25 degrees south, you can't see it at all. And in northern Australia, just north of that latitude, the Big Dipper just barely squeaks above the horizon. Meanwhile, in the southern hemisphere, there's the Southern Cross, a bright 4-star arrangement. That constellation isn't visible until you travel as far south as the Florida Keys in the northern hemisphere. These different stellar views make sense if you imagine the Earth as a globe, so that looking up really means looking toward a different sliver of space from the southern or northern hemisphere. Photo credit. Eduardo Ostregizilo / Shutterstock. Aristotle also bolstered his belief in a round Earth with the observation that during lunar eclipses, the Earth's shadow on the face of the Sun is curved. Since this curved shape exists during all lunar eclipses, despite the fact that Earth is rotating, Aristotle correctly intuited from this curved shadow that the Earth is curvy all around. In other words, a sphere. For that matter, solar eclipses also tend to bolster the idea that the planets, moons and stars are a bunch of roundish objects orbiting each other. If the Earth is a disk and the stars and planets a bunch of small, nearby objects hovering in a dome above the surface, as many flat earthers believe, the total solar eclipse that crossed North America in August 2017 becomes very difficult to explain. Photo credit. Dmitry Galaganov / Shutterstock.